Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 186, the Heinz Ward-ish episode of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
And I'm Phil. And we're in a great mood because the Steelers won a big game. We'll talk about that later. But let's start off with the NBA. So, as we said, I think we called the Lakers at 5, and that's what it was. And Miami and Boston is as good a series as I thought it would be. And Boston could easily have won this series, but Miami has just, been able to play, and Boston sometimes forgets who they are. Sometimes Boston is content to chuck up threes. And if you're just chucking up threes and you're not hitting them, you fall behind quickly. And that's usually what's happened to them. So,
well, in the big Tyler Hero game.
I'm looking forward to Game 5. Game 5 or Game 6?
Game 6.
Game 6 tonight. And I'm looking forward to that. I've enjoyed really watching Marcus Smart. Jason Tatum has been erratic.
Right, because in the Tyler Hero game, he was a beast in the second half, but he scored 0 points in the first half. And it's like if he had done anything in the first half, Tyler Hero's 37 points probably go away in a loss as opposed to a win. So.
No, and then Marcus Smart guarded Tyler Hero a lot the last game.
Yeah.
And did a good job shutting him down. But that kid is really good. I like watching Tyler Hero.
Well, the Heat, they sort of remind you of like those old Pistons teams where it's like any one of like 5 or 6 guys can be the guy on a given night. Like there's not.
And that's the beauty of it. And the Celtics have like probably any one of 3 guys.
Yeah.
And that's why I like both of those teams. But the Lakers are still going to be, when I watch Anthony Davis, I mean, he went almost the entire first half with got 1 rebound.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand. If you're that big and that menacing near the rim, why you have 1 rebound.
He's one of those frustrating guys that's 7 foot tall with that amount of skill, but still doesn't like to play the center position. And he's happy to take, 15-foot jump shots. And again, he's still one of the greatest players on the planet. But if he had a little more, I don't know, if Jimmy Butler kind of dog in him or something that wanted to just bang boards and be a little more aggressive, I think they would be just, if he plays as well as he can play with LeBron playing at his game right now and playoff Rondo, I think they would sweep whoever comes out of the East, or 4-1.
Well, I think no matter who wins, I don't see it. I see it as 5 or 6 games. I don't see it as a 7-game series. Playoff Rondo is scary.
And LeBron is, crushing it.
LeBron is LeBron. Playoff Rondo is ridiculous when he's playing to his capabilities and he's focused. Anthony Davis is what he is. Dwight Howard, I don't know. I guess they'll probably play Dwight Howard a little bit if they play the Celtics. I don't know how much he'll play if they play Miami.
Yeah, I think if they play with either one of those teams, I don't think Dwight or JaVale McGee's getting a lot of playing time. But
probably not. I mean, if Kelly Olynyk is in there, they'll put Dwight Howard in. But if Dwight Howard's not in there, then Kelly Olynyk's probably not playing either.
No.
But it's been a really, really good series. I really enjoyed it. I love the battle. I mean, those games are really, really entertaining.
And as we talked a little offline, if you're the team the one of the Final Four teams that's gone, the Nuggets, if you're a Nuggets fan, you guys made it to the conference finals. You've got an in-shape Jokic who seems to be getting better. Jamal Murray looks like one of the best players in the league on a given night. And Michael Porter Jr. could be that third piece if he can get get whatever the coach needs him to be, a little bit more defense and I guess focus on offense. I mean, I think you're really excited if you're that team.
Yeah.
You're the fan base. You're like, we have a threesome plus some nice role players. We got some picks. Like they're sitting in a really nice position moving forward.
No, I think and I also think playing in Denver is a good home court advantage.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, they play all those games not in Denver. So it could be a really fun, exciting team next year if they continue to go forward and not be content with where they were.
Especially,
they probably played on one leg for 3/4 of the game.
Exactly. And especially because Jokic was the one, COVID hibernation player that took pictures that when he came and we saw him in person actually looked like the pictures.
Yeah.
He's the one that, they were like, look at this picture of Jokic. Looks like he slimmed down 20 pounds, and he really did. He looked like he's in better shape and he's ready to play the playoffs. Whereas we saw some of the other guys, and it was like, oh no, you just had a really good Instagram post, maybe some filters.
So I'm looking forward to the finals. And so I've been watching the NHL Stanley Cup, which you know me, and I'm not a big hockey guy, but since I left the Lightning, I've been watching. And, the Lightning lost last night in overtime. They played a lot of hockey. They played a lot of overtime.
Yeah.
But I really got to see the contrast in the styles. Dallas is a much, much more physical team than the Lightning.
Oh, yeah.
The Lightning is a skill and speed team. And, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But I really think the Lightning will win 6. I think they'll win tomorrow night, and that'll be their victory.
No,
and I'm real happy if they win the cup.
Again, just because they supported me personally and some other stuff, and they, you work with them and you like them a lot. I mean, if it can't be the Penguins, I always want the Lightning to win. So I'd be very happy with that.
And then we had one of those great moments that you see in sports so rarely, but when you see it, it's just something you can really appreciate. Like Stamkos only played 3 minutes, but he had a goal.
Yeah.
And, he's out for the rest of the series. But I just think that was just an amazing, amazing moment. That he could go in there and play 3 minutes and get a goal.
No, without a doubt.
But it's just tragic that the team is this good. And he's their captain, he's their leader, and he can't be on the ice.
No. But at least he's already had his cup the moment before this, too. So, it's not his only shot.
No, did he get a cup?
Oh, we didn't get a cup? Oh, I thought he got a cup before. Oh, my bad.
No. He went to the finals and they lost.
Oh, that's right.
He hadn't been there that long. As the other guys that won the cup back, that's, I think at least 10 years ago.
Yeah, for some reason I thought he was there. Okay, yeah. That's my bad. Misinformation.
Baseball, the Rays have the #1 seed in the American League.
Crazy.
The A's, two of the 3 or 2 of the 4 lowest payrolls in baseball are both in the postseason. And those are the 2 best records, by the way.
Yeah.
In the American League. The American League, those are the 2 best records, the A's and the Rays. Dodgers and Padres, Yankees, Indians, Twins, Cardinals, Cubs, Reds. Lots of interesting things going on. I'm going to root for the Padres in the National League, and I'll root for the Rays or the A's in the American League. I appreciate what they've done. I'll root for the Rays because it's the home team, but I really, really like the A's.
Yes. And you've always liked the A's. You always had an A's hat.
I always liked the A's. And when they wear that Kelly green uniform, I love that Kelly green uniform.
Yeah, so there's did you have a softball team designed after uniforms too?
Yep, I always wanted to copy that uniform. So I'm excited about that. But big NFL day today.
Yes. Big NFL day.
So what are your thoughts on the day so far?
I was impressed. I know that the Bills blew a big lead, but the fact that they came back and Josh Allen had that touchdown drive, even if the interference call was a little questionable at the end that helped them get on that 4th down, I thought that was a really nice win for that team. I mean, they're still a young team, and if they're going to come out on top, that was a really big win for them to come back and win that game. I didn't watch most of that one because, of course, the Steelers were on. I was watching the Steeler game pretty probably, so I don't know if they took their foot off the gas. But I know the Bills were crushing the Rams, and then the Rams came back, and then the Bills won with 30 seconds to play on a Josh Allen touchdown. But, they look really good. Our Steelers are 3-0, which is pretty fantastic.
Very fantastic. And they go to Tennessee next week, and that'll be another really, really good game. I'd like to see the Steelers match up against Derrick Henry because nobody's been able to. I mean, you saw today that they really, really could not run on the Steelers at all.
No, the one thing I would worry is, you saw what the Steelers did to Saquon Barkley, which you figure but I think you can commit, run blitzes and 11 men in the box against the Giants and Daniel Jones and that wide receiver core. I think the Titans are a little bit more dangerous throwing the football, so I don't think you could quite play that same style that you did against the Giants. At least not, they were going, run blitz every down against the Giants, and I don't think you can do that against the Titans, but I'm excited to watch that game, obviously. You have 2 3-0 teams.
You saw today that Watson was scrambling, that's when they were the most effective.
Yes. Deshaun Watson, it's a shame that he's got that GM, because I don't think Bill O'Brien's a bad coach, but I think he's a really bad GM. And I think he's left him a little bit, wanting as far as teammates go. Because you watch him play, and he's got the arm, he's incredibly mobile, he can move around, he's great in the pocket. There were so many times I was, on the edge of my seat thinking the Steelers were going to get him, and he would just squeak this way, and all of a sudden he's out throwing the ball downfield. And I think, as some of these other quarterbacks rise up with better teams, I feel like he might get left in the, the bottom of that conversation. But he's a fantastic player. Just give him a little shout out.
Well, I've got the Buccaneers on, and Gronk just caught it, but Brady didn't throw the ball soon enough, and Gronk was out of the end zone by the time he caught the ball.
Yeah.
And he threw another really nice pass downfield, and a former Steeler broke up the pass. Anthony Chickillo is playing for the Broncos.
And just shout out to the Broncos who put all these South Park people in their stadium today. Did you see it?
And
it's cut out to the...
Tonight is your first episode of The Simpsons, right?
What's that?
Tonight is opening night of The Simpsons?
I believe so, yes. But the Broncos had cardboard cutouts of the entire town of South Park in their stadium. It's pretty cool. Because, the Broncos have been featured on South Park a couple of times. It's the boys' favorite team because they obviously live in, South Park, Colorado.
Episode of South Park been on yet?
I don't think so. I know they have an hour-long COVID special happening at some point.
Yeah, it's an hour-long pandemic episode.
Yes. What else did I notice today? It's hard not to get focused on, obviously the Raiders lost to the Patriots. Cam and the Patriot team looked pretty good again. And once again, it was a Belichick team where Rex Burkhead had a big game today. Sony Michel had a big game today. They've got that heat quality where you never know who's going to be the Patriot that steps up on the game,
And you know what? Belichick's making Subway commercials. It's like a whole new era out there right now.
Yeah. It is. But the Patriots are 2-1, and, they're well coached. They just, that, like I said, how do you scout the Patriots? Because they do something different every single week on offense, something different every single week on defense. And they've got the personnel and the players to do that, and they're one of the few teams that do.
Well, we got the biggest game of the year so far, I think, tomorrow night on Monday Night Football.
Oh, Chiefs-Ravens, that's, presumably that's your AFC Championship game preview right there.
All right, so what does your gut tell you about that game?
My gut tells me the Ravens are going to win.
That's funny. Guess what my gut tells me is going to happen as well.
I think the Ravens have come out looking a little sharper this year. Mahomes has been fantastic, made a couple of fourth quarter comebacks, but they easily could have been 1-2 right now, bizarrely. I just don't think they've looked as crisp and as sharp as the Ravens have looked. And, and again, I'm not saying the Chiefs are, on their laurels because they won the title last year. The Ravens are hungrier because they lost, but the Ravens just look scarily good right now.
They are, and you know what? I think that organization just is really, really good at finding talent.
They really are.
They're really, really good at it, and they sign the right people, and they let the right people go. I've always been very, very impressed with him. And I think Harbaugh's a very, very good coach.
And again, besides obviously the MVP, you got the Browns, nice receivers out there. You got Mark Andrews at tight end, who looks like an absolute stud. You got a three-headed monster at running back and a good offensive line. And again, you got the cheat code in Lamar Jackson, where if you rush and you run past him, he's going to run for 40 yards. If you sit back, he'll pick you apart. They're just, they do a lot of stuff pre-snap to confuse people. They're just a really, really good football team. And their defense looks great, too.
And I think those are two of the fastest teams in the NFL.
Oh, easily.
And so it's going to be really interesting to see how that goes. See how that game goes.
And like I said, I think
I'm excited about that one.
Yeah, the Chiefs have looked really good at moments, but they've also looked really sloppy this year, unlike previous years. So I just don't know if they've rounded into form. But the other thing I would say, I do think the Ravens are going to win. I don't think it has any impact on who's going to win ultimately when they play or seeding. I think they're both going to be, fighting for a first round playoff bye, and I think we're both going to see them, advance in the playoffs. So I don't think it really matters that big either one. Yeah.
I'm probably surprised right now in week 3 that we have so many teams that are undefeated still and so many teams that haven't won yet.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and the other thing I think we have to shout out today is that the Mitch Trubisky era might officially be over. They were down by 20 points to the Falcons. He was playing terrible. And then Big Dick Nick Foles came in the game, and they won the game. He threw 3 touchdowns in the second half. I think that's what everybody was sort of waiting for, and they assumed it was going to happen before the season. But I think they had to wait for Trubisky to, look like Mitch one more time before they could pull the plug. And
so who is the most surprising team to you in the NFL so far after 3 weeks, positively and negatively?
I think it's easy to say, initially if you told me the Texans were going to be 0-3, I'd been like, that doesn't make any sense. But then you look at who they played, and you're like, oh, okay, that does make sense. They played the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Steelers. Yeah. It's a brutal schedule. I could easily see Buffalo being 3-0. The Patriots, I think I predicted them to win the division just because I was afraid of them. I don't really know if there's any real surprises. I mean, Vegas is 2-1, but
I'm surprised the Vikings are 0-3.
Yeah, I guess that makes a lot of sense.
I'm surprised the Vikings are 0-3. And I'm surprised the Saints haven't looked as good as I thought they were going to look. Those are my 2 biggest surprises.
Oh, and I guess my biggest surprise based on preseason, I was believing in Tampa Bay and Tom Brady having like one more FU season. I could still do this even if he had to take some weird herbal supplements or something to get the job done. But, he and Drew Brees both look kind of washed. And
yeah, no, they're up. The Buccaneers are up 17-3 in this game. But playing Denver defense is not all that.
No.
But the other thing is, I mean, Brady, this game could easily be in the 30s. But, I mean, he's missed a lot of passes.
Now, this is a bit hyper. Yeah.
I really work with new people he doesn't really work with, but he just seems erratic. I mean, just off. You're right. Off is a better word than erratic.
And someone on ESPN said this the other day. Ryan Clark was one of the 4 people. I'm not sure. I think he is the one that said it. But if he didn't, I don't want to give him credit or put words in his mouth. But somebody basically said that for the Saints, if the name on the jersey was not Breeze, he wouldn't probably have made the roster this year, let alone be the starting quarterback right now. Because he has not looked good.
He has not. It's been shocking to me.
Yeah. And I know Michael Thomas is out, but it's way more than Michael Thomas. Like, he looks like the Drew Brees of most of last year, which was a little bit like, I don't think I can win with this guy. He doesn't have the arm strength. So, and again, it takes nothing away from an amazing career. It's just, he just doesn't look great.
No, he's been phenomenal. And, when the Chargers threw him on the trash pile, and then he goes to New Orleans and resurrects his career, wins the Super Bowl, and sets all kind of passing records. I mean, he's proved what he's capable of.
Yeah.
I just think, like Brady, I think you just lose some arm strength.
You do.
It's just that, your arm's not 25 years old. You might look 25, but your arm's not 25.
No, Brady has a magical hair solution. Maybe it's from, not eating tomatoes. I don't know what it is, but yeah, his hair looks fluffier and longer than ever. So it's working for him, whatever he's doing. But the arm, not as much. Here's a fantasy football question for you.
Okay.
I heard about an interesting fantasy football punishment. Maybe we wouldn't be able to do it this year because of COVID. But there's a league, and I guess there's another league down here that does it too. You have to spend 24 hours in a Waffle House if you come in last place. And for every waffle you eat, you take an hour off your time. So my question to you, Dad, is knowing that the Waffle House waffle isn't the thick, fluffy one. It's more of a thin, Eggo size, thin waffle, but bigger. How many hours do you think you could take off your 24 hours?
6.
6? Okay.
Yeah, because I
No, it's just if you start it,
as we're going.
yeah. So for every hour, like you take an hour off for every waffle you eat. I thought that was an awesome punishment.
I think it's one of the best things I've ever heard of.
Yeah, because you hear ones about permanently scarring somebody with the league trophy as a tattoo on their butt, or some shave your head kind of ones. But I was like 24 hours in a Waffle House where you could eat waffle time off your sentence. I'm like, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I've seen those waffles. I think in 24 hours span, I think I'd be good for 6, so I think I get out of it in 18 hours.
So for anyone that has never seen a Waffle House waffle, it's probably the thickness of an Eggo, but it's a full plate waffle. So it's almost like every waffle would be like 3 Eggos. So I feel like everyone's seen an Eggo before, give or take.
Yeah.
But when I heard that, I was like,
worst case, I'm out of there in 4 hours only.
Yeah. Worst case. And again, you get a couple at breakfast, couple at lunch, couple at dinner. Maybe you snag it, you can force down another 2. You take 8 hours off your thing, and you're still there for 16 hours, which is still an amazing amount of time to be sitting in a Waffle House by yourself.
Yeah.
And you better tip well if you're stuck there for that long on somebody's table as well.
I think there's harder challenges. If I was locked up in a Waffle House, the hardest thing would be those hash browns with everything possible on them.
Oh, yeah.
So if you had to clear maybe so many plates of that to get out, that would be tougher.
It would be.
I think the waffle, because it's long and thin, it's deceptive, but I don't think it looks more imposing, I think, than it is.
I think so. Because I think most people think waffle, especially if you go like somewhere you're thinking like this big, almost crazy cake-like dessert.
The Belgian waffles here.
Yeah. But I just thought, I was like, when I heard that, I was like, that's just one of the best punishments I've ever heard. Assuming the Waffle House people are cool with it,
Now, you know what? For the show next week, I'm going to try and come up with a worse punishment than that.
Okay. Yes. I just really like that punishment. I was like, that's pretty awesome. I have an awesome new food moment.
Okay.
So there's this place called the Mayhew Bakery. It's Mayhew. And they mainly do breads there, but they made a pizza pop-up, and now they do pizzas Wednesday through Saturday or Sunday. And I'm going to say, as a New Orleans person, just so people in New Orleans can understand my pizza taste, my 2 favorite pizzas down here right now are probably Pizza Delicious and Pizza Dominica. So I feel like that, sometimes it's good to know people's pizza taste before they give you a pizza recommendation.
Sure.
But I would put Mayhew right up there. It was baked perfectly. It was like a thin New York slice. They used quality cheese. It was just delicious. Yeah. And they had good bakery items too. We got it was a cinnamon bun bread pudding cake.
Ooh.
So they take the cinnamon bun, make the bread pudding, and they form it into like a cake, and then they put little glaze on top and slice it into triangles.
Wow.
Really good. But the pizza, we had seen the pictures of it on Yelp, but nobody had really reviewed the pizza. And again, this isn't the best city to take pizza reviews from because New Orleans is just not a pizza city. But
while we're talking about pizza, I want to mention to our listeners about Troy Polamalu.
Oh, yes.
And so Troy Polamalu just did an interview, and they asked him what he missed the most about Pittsburgh, and he said pizza. And his 3 favorite pizzas were Fiore's, Minio's, and Vincent's. And after a game, his wife would drive from where they lived in the North Hills all the way to Fiore's in the South Hills to bring him back a pizza. Because he said, I always had a Fiore's pizza after a Steeler game.
I mean, if he wasn't already one of my all-time favorite Steelers, that would have shot Boulder right up there,
And that tells me he's got good taste in pizza.
It does.
I don't have a food moment. Somebody gave me a gift card, though, for Jack Stack Barbecue in Kansas City.
Oh, yeah, we've had that before.
Yeah, we've had that. So I ordered something I think you will like. Remember how much we used to like the Sloppy Joe in Stillwater?
Oh, the Smoky Joe.
The Smoky Joe, a combination of the beef and pork.
Yeah.
So I got a pound of that. I forget what they call it, but it's exactly that. I got a pound of beef burn ends.
I love a good burn end.
I have a rib.
Yeah. Very
So
nice.
that could be my food. It's going to be delivered on Friday, so that could be my food moment next week.
Yes.
Entertainment, I'm still on vow, as are you.
Yes.
Tonight's episode 6 out of 9. And like we told you every week now, if you haven't seen it, go on and start watching it on HBO on demand. It's well worth it.
And if you want to take advice from one of our best listeners, my mom, don't do any Googling or deep diving. Watch the whole thing and then do all your Googling and deep diving post
There you go.
the
Good
show.
advice. And then I started watching The Third Day with Jude Law. And we've watched 2 episodes of that. And I think it bears watching. And so we're kind of into that. That's on Monday nights, but it's also on HBO, so you can watch it on demand as well.
And I also watched The Social Dilemma, which is it's a big hit on Netflix right now. It's like an hour and 20-minute documentary, and it's basically a TED Talk with former Google, Twitter, Snapchat. It's a bunch of people that were presidents and vice presidents of those sort of shows. And they're basically talking about the ethics of, social media. And it's down to, people over profits. But I thought the one interesting thing it said that I think we're lacking a lot now is that, nothing was built to be evil. But, the algorithm is designed to get you clicking. So when you see people that you vehemently disagree with, especially in this current climate, they're being fed, again, not maliciously, but in order to get them clicks and get them money and all that sort of stuff, is every article you're reading explaining things the way you see them, they're getting an article saying it's the way they're seeing it, So just keep in mind that people are being fed information on both sides, good and bad. And, maybe maybe that'll lead to, maybe some form of conversation. I doubt it, but I thought that was the best part, was just them explaining that, just because you're seeing these articles explaining, position A, they're seeing the polar opposite, also backed up with, information and, facts, if you will. So I just thought that was the biggest takeaway for people is, that maybe if we're going to ever get back to conversations and debate and, it's going to have to come from understanding that everybody's getting all these facts from different sides and that, once we can listen to each other again. But I thought that was the best part of it.
Interesting. I'll have to check that out as well.
Because I just feel like sometimes we forget, it's not just, it's easy to dismiss everybody as just being too dumb on the other side.
Sure.
But sometimes they're being educated in,
Yeah, exactly.
They think they're reading facts and they're reading articles, just like we think and it's, a push. But I thought that was the biggest takeaway. And again, I don't know if that's going to, that'll open up dialogue, but I think that's an important aspect of it.
Social media is going to be full of the ills of mail-in balloting this week.
Yes.
So be prepared.
Yes. Everybody watch the, Chiefs-Ravens game tomorrow night, because I think that's going to be, that's the game of the young NFL season that you should be excited about.
It should give you a good idea. And I'm already hoping we don't get a lot of people get hurt in that.
No.
Because if you get some key players that could be out. Brady's just thrown another touchdown pass. It's 24-3.
Wow. So we can overreact to Tom Brady's greatness next week, crown the AFC champion depending on Monday night's results, and then we'll talk some food and some other stuff.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Take care. Make sure you're registered to vote.